Great. I see some comments of people like joining from snowy places here as well in New York. Is rather snow today. It's snowy today. So Lucia, if you're ready, we can start. Yes, perfect. Great. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. My name is Florencia Librizzi. I'm the head of program and partnership at SDG Academy. And I'm joined today with my colleague, Lucia Rodriguez, which is the director of the MDP Global Secretariat. And we're delighted to have this space to have a conversation that I believe is extremely relevant on how we're going to move forward together and address these challenges that we heard today very well put together in terms of the recovery, the social injustice that we're facing, the issues of not really being able to, so I had to admit some people, to address and reach sustainable development and so on. I believe that this session really is about to share these challenges and opportunities together, as well as find solutions, and is meant to be very much a conversation among all of us. But just to start and put something on the table, since we believe that the SDG Academy, as the flagship educational initiative of SCSN, as well as MDP, have resources and communities that we hope that will serve you in this journey. We would like to give a quick introduction of our programs, and then we post some guiding questions to discuss, but we can go beyond that and really take, this together as a brainstorming session, which is the intention. Just as a quick overview, the SDG Academy is the education initiative of SCSN, and we have traditionally created and curated content on sustainable development, high quality, really mobilizing leaders from around the world to create this content with technology to be able to reach a large audience. That audience happily is growing over time. We have over 600,000 learners. We want to reach millions. And we have seen a spike during the COVID time of 3.2 times of our learners. We have 35, we can see in the next slide, actually, we have the SDG Academy library with over 1,400 video lectures that our learners take as a resource to learn about sustainable development, but faculty as well to integrate into existing and new programs. And our 35 massive open online courses. If you're not familiarized with this content, please check it out. Those are the links, and please get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to have conversations of how you can use this content. I quickly wanted to let you know, unless you probably, if you haven't heard, we have launched a great initiative with Professor Jeffrey Sachs a couple of weeks ago, which is the book club with Jeffrey Sachs. I just wanted to put there as another resource that is fun, that is engaging, and really covers such a key aspects of particularly relevant for globally, but also for the US. The next session is on the 24th of February with Professor Richard Rothstein on The Color of Law, a book that really touches on social injustice and issues of equity and how we can move forward, and how the law was actually a key tool for making this division, and how we need to address those issues. So please join us. These are also going to be available as podcasts, which is a new product that we have now in the SDG Academy. Just briefly, because we're going to talk about this tomorrow as well, Professor Sachs mentioned the Mission 4.7 initiative that is being launched right now. It has been launched a couple of weeks ago with the SDG Academy, Global Schools, Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens, UNESCO, and the Center for Sustainable Development. And with the high-level advisory group, as well as the education task force that is meeting tomorrow, there is a very ambitious set of activities in terms of high-level advocacy, knowledge transfer, but also the creation of content and resource mobilization to be able to support education in all levels to really incorporate education for sustainable development across the board. So this is also a great initiative. I just want to briefly mention it, and please take a look, and we'll be happy to have conversations about that. And just one final point, and I will hand it over to Lucia. at the SDG Academy, we want to build a very robust community around our content. And I cannot even think of a better audience right here to invite you to be part of it. We needed a community for many reasons. For the resource mobilization itself, to be able to capture much more robust knowledge and regional and much more contextualized, as well as to be able to share good practices and learning and these challenges and move the needle forward. So just a quick here visualizing, this community of practice. We just launched it a few months ago, last September, and we have already 44 institutions that are sharing together and having communication conversations, community conversations, and identifying key projects to work together. So I will leave it at here. I'm happy to talk more about that, but really it's about discussing all together. So I'll pass it now to my colleague, Lucia. Please, Lucia, go ahead.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Lucia. Really, really excited to be here with you. And I will be very short because this is really not about, I don't want to take a lot of time with what I do, but I want to hear from you and what you're doing on your campuses in terms of the SDGs and sustainable development. But just very, very quickly, as Professor Sachs said, I am the director of the Global MDP Secretariat, which is an umbrella term for a program, a graduate degree program on sustainable development that is now being offered by about 38 academic institutions in 26 countries. 11 of those, or about 9 of those academic institutions are in the USA. And so when I thought about, okay, what could I bring you? What is something you can take with you and do? I thought, yes, we would love you to join this consortium of academic institutions that are offering this graduate degree program. But look, I'm here in the USA, and it's not that easy to develop a graduate degree program overnight. So I thought, let's start slow. And one thing that I'm offering you is this Global Classrooms. It's a virtual blended course that we have been giving since 2008. It's free. It's in September, from December, every September to December. This year is September 8th to September 7th to December 8th. And it is also actually, we have about 120 participants. I have academic institutions that are joining, as well as individuals and NGOs. And I wanted to, can you, Florencia, quickly click on that here and go to the website and come back? If we're going to get lost, I don't want to do it. So here's the website for this Global Classrooms. There is a website. There is, the videos, everything, curricula. I mean, all the resources are there. And you can see past lectures, past resources that you can use. So if you're interested in this at all, please just send me an email afterwards, and I can sort of set you up for this. And we're always looking for really high level speakers for this course. So if you know of somebody, or you yourself feel that you would like to participate as a global speaker, let me know. Once you look at, there's a syllabus, and you'll see the kinds of topics that we cover. So that is, you're welcome. But without much ado, what I want to do is really get to I want to start this conversation. So I'm going to turn it over to Natalie Kaur, who is really, she's Dr. Natalie Kaur, actually, Lecturer of Global Agriculture and Leadership Development at the University of Florida. And University of Florida is one of our MDP programs, but they have developed this really a guidelines, a booklet on the SDGs that has been sort of developed in partnership with the MDP program there and other offices and partners. So let me turn over to Natalie, who will share with us what she did, and hopefully what I want this to be is like to jumpstart the conversation. You'll see what they did, and then you know what? I want to hear about what you're doing, what you're thinking. We'll throw out the questions, and that'll be it. And I just want a shout out to Tom. Tom from Harvard University, who's also with us. Thank you, Tom, for posting our MDP website. I forgot to do that. I really appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucia. Certainly a pleasure to hop in and just share very briefly what we've been doing at University of Florida. And so just very briefly, kind of my own personal journey with the SDGs at UF. I was introduced to the MDGs when I was in graduate school and carried those with me into a program in our College of Agricultural and Life Sciences as the instructor, which is a leadership institute, and included them as a framework there for several years. And then in 2019, I took over a program called the Challenge 2050 program. And we began to kind of revamp that program and included the SDGs as the framework for how we approach global issues within that context for those undergraduate students. And when I took over that program, I didn't really know what else was going on campus around sustainability. And so I basically just did a quick Google search on UF to see what kind of programs were happening around campus and started reaching out to those other faculty members and program directors and just meeting with them, and discovered that we had a number of different things going on campus, but on a campus that has 50,000 students, you can imagine we're pretty siloed in a lot of things that we do. And so in talking with each of them one-on-one, I kept asking the question, has there ever been a group that has collaborated or gotten together to discuss what we're all doing and helping each other out? And the answer was, well, I think we tried that once, but it didn't really work. And so they're like, if you're willing to take charge on it, we will be on board, we will support this. And so 2019 was the individual meetings. And then in January 2020, we finally got the whole group together, and we initially came together to try to get some funding from a specific grant program just within our university. And we basically said this is a long shot because we have 3 weeks to put a proposal together and we're just now meeting each other, but we're going to give it a try. So we were not successful with that, but that brought us together to the table. And basically then we said, well, what next? What are we going to do? And we basically came to the conclusion that we needed some resources that we could all utilize to help share what we were doing around the SDGs and to help other faculty get on board. And so those that were represented at the table, you can see were lots of different silos across campus. I'm in our College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, so I naturally pulled in some of those folks, but we've since grabbed some folks from the Warrington Business College, from our Office of Sustainability has been a huge support in this effort. We have our Design, Construction, and Planning College on board. Some liberal arts and sciences folks have been kind of remotely involved. And then the Master of Sustainable Development Practice, which Lucia mentioned, they have been an amazing support and contribution in this effort. And we ultimately found these great resources that are out there through SDSN. And the only downside was we felt a little overwhelmed by wanting to share these, but with other faculty who had never heard of the SDGs, we thought we need a little bit more of a tangible shorthand version, because these are great resources, but they're 80 some pages, 60 to 80 pages of amazing resources. But for someone to get a first glimpse, we wanted a quick reference kind of guide. And so this is what we ultimately came up with. And I'm going to drop that link in the chat as well. So you're welcome to download it, use it. It basically just goes through contextually at UF what we have, in addition to some basic background information of the SDGs, why they're important within higher education, why faculty should care about them, and then just giving some examples of some courses at the University of Florida that are using the SDGs in their classrooms, as well as linking to a number of resources through SDSN, the SDG Academy, just so many great resources that we wanted faculty to know about and have at their fingertips, so that they could just explore on their own and consider how to kind of get involved with that overall process of including the SDGs, becoming aware of them themselves, as well as then helping their students gain some greater awareness of that. And so where we're at now, we just finished this document the end of January and are starting to share that document on our campus. And we're kind of at the question of, where does this effort live at UF? We're kind of a organically formed faculty group and wanting to share more, but we're not quite sure where this lands. And so that's one question we're currently sorting out. Do we live in the Office of Sustainability? Do we live in our International Center? And so those questions are in prime focus right now. And then also, where does our administration stand on the SDGs? We certainly want to continue pushing the SDGs and the awareness of them in our classrooms and in the context of just being such a great interdisciplinary tool for across all of the different colleges within our university. But we also just want to know, does the administration back this? Are they interested in putting a little bit more oomph behind some research efforts? And if not, then we need to know that as well. Are we going to be doing this out of volunteer kind of time, or can they add some more administrative kind of support to us? And then how do we kind of grow that network and overcoming the barriers of size and structure? University of Florida is a Research One university, lots of different areas and divisions and different ways of doing things within each of our colleges. And so overcoming some of those barriers of structure is something else we're trying to figure out at the moment, in addition to what incentive is really available that we can provide to faculty for engagement and making the shift to what we like to call is just kind of a common language. We don't want to force a research agenda or anything on our faculty, but we want them to see the connection and have that common language to be able to share in the conversation and contribute at that broader level. And with that, that's kind of a quick recap. And as folks were noting the snow, I have to post this of, I'm in the location where everybody hates right now. So I'm sorry, but I wish I could send some warmth up your way, because I'm a northerner at heart. And so I kind of wish I was in some of the snow. And with that, I will stop sharing, but happy to also contribute, answer any questions, and also interested in hearing what everyone else is doing as well. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That was great. And thanks for sending some of the warmth as well. I mean, if there are questions and comments on this, and we can also put up some questions that we have generally, so we can start the conversation, and everyone feel free to jump in to share.
And I just want to reiterate, thank you. I mean, I know that you probably are doing some things on your own. Sorry, child in the background, on your own campuses, and we would love to hear it. So please.
This is Helen Bond. I'd like to thank you for your wonderful presentation. I was just reminded as I was listening to you that I needed to get back with Lucia. We had actually had a conversation on one of our SDSN chats about establishing an MDP program at an historically Black college and university. And we are actually, I want to report, we're having discussions right now. We are thinking about this in the context of a school of education. And so we're leaning more toward the educational for sustainable development, but we're thinking about it in a very broad fashion. So I just wanted to let you know I will be in contact here in a few weeks. I've got quite a few classes this term, and so waiting till those sort of dissipate a little bit, give me a little bit more time. But I'm encouraged by the progress, by the wonderful work of NADLI, University of Florida, and the work that you're doing. So I will be back in touch. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Tom, I know you're online. Are you there?
I am, Lucia.
Thank you. Share. I know you're doing wonderful things. Would love to hear where you're at right now.
Yeah, so maybe just a little bit of context and then update of what we're thinking about for the coming academic year. So in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, which has the well-known Harvard College and our School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. But I'm part of a younger part of the university. We're only about 120 years old now, which is our Harvard Extension School. And the Harvard Extension School has the philosophy of opening the gates of Harvard University to the community. And I mention that because the structure of my organization is very unusual in that it's very easy for me to garner faculty from across the entire university. And that's a key aspect of developing any curriculum that's oriented towards sustainability. You need faculty that touch all pieces of the puzzle, from human health and environment to economics and policy, anthropology, and onward, social justice, et cetera. And so as part of the Harvard Extension School, and we're one of the newer members of the Global Association that Lucia mentioned, we're just finishing up our third year, and we graduated our first students this past year. And with that, I was able to pull together about 150 classes that are part of our global development practice program. Many of them had already existed, which is another key message. So you think about your university, that many of the classes that already exist, from the environmental sciences to, again, policy courses related to social justice, et cetera. All these courses are typically spread across the university. And in some ways, the challenge is knitting them together and creating the, if you will, the internal structures that allow for people to work outside of their departments, be remunerated outside of their departments. These are more the domestic things, but they're incredibly important to deliver on an educational program. So I had that advantage. My curriculum is taught by adjunct faculty, even though they're tenured track or tenured faculty at Harvard University or even elsewhere. Everyone within my division is adjunct, and we have contracts that are renewed every single year. So that allows a lot of, if you will, again, flexibility, but also allows for innovation. So bringing in new courses that would be related to some of the things that Professor Sachs was talking about, such as new technologies, say AI, applied analytics for social justice and other environmental problems. We'll be introducing a course this coming year related to that, and other courses that are at the forefront of the field. That said, one of the things that we're really focused on this coming year, particularly in the advent of the pandemic, which we also had another advantage, was being online prior to the pandemic. We're a distance learning organization, is diversity and inclusion. And I say that certainly for parts around the world that the inability to pay our tuition costs and accessibility geographically, or now it's more by time zone is more the issue, but also the United States. And the United States is facing a critical juncture of, as we know, sociopolitically, the extreme differences in wealth and earning potential. And so that diversity and inclusion is a big goal this coming year, to continue to look at means to provide access to education. And again, whether it be by cost, but also by flexibility, because many of our students, and the typical student for us is in their late 20s, mid 30s, working adults. Many are women. So 80% of our students in our Masters in Development Practice program are women. They have children and they have jobs. And typically they're supporting a spouse at a variety of different levels. They're actually very amazing people. I marvel at their ability to get it through our program, balancing so many things. And so as we think about education, particularly tertiary education, diversity and inclusion really involves a lot of the support of our students. And so things such as flexibility in terms of how quickly they can get through our program. Having a lockstep program of 2 years puts in constraints for many students that they can't go to a master's program part-time. They have to go full-time, quit their jobs. So the opportunity cost of working at the same time of paying your tuition becomes a huge barrier, even with financial aid. So we look at things like that, such as, having students be able to take one course at a time, work through the program, typically get through our program about 4 years or so. And of course, the field itself is ever changing. Even the advent of the language that my incoming students use, their maturity on the subject has greatly increased, their knowledge of the nuances of the subject. The shift of, I would say, from the hard sciences to the social sciences is absolutely present. So issues, political economy issues, is becoming more of a fore in our curriculum. So we're readjusting our course offerings around that area as well. So socioeconomic issues become more the fore of what our program is about. And in essence, that's thanks to the MDP program, where the 4 pillars, that being, you're looking at, of course, the environmental sciences and the kind of the human health and well-being portion. 4th part is kind of anthropology, economics, basically the built environment. And then the 4th category, which is the overarching aspect of the curriculum, is management. So how one garners resources, whether they be financial, how they manage human capital, how they start organizations, how they manage projects. This is a absolutely critical skill set in terms of empowering our students to be successful and engage in the programs or their jobs as they move on from us. And then similarly with the MDP program, they have a field study component, or what we call a capstone, that we work with our students to engage with a client outside the organization. And this is where we give as much autonomy as we can for our students to really learn the ropes, how to work with a client, set up a project, scope the project, understand what's salient for their client, and then create a strategic plan. So they learn a lot by doing. So we keep our hands off as much as, again, we can to take a learner-centered approach, finding the client, finding what's important. And in many cases, because our students are distance, general philosophy we have is that we're trying to really bridge global practice with local knowledge, truly do that, so that the local knowledge is hugely important. Certainly the global practice of the Sustainable Development Goals is an aspirational aspect overlaid with many other, if you will, sustainability science approaches. is what empowers our students, and particularly as they share with each other local agendas that are important and or challenging, and sharing innovative ways to solve those issues. Makes for a very, very rich student body. And Lucia, thank you for the opportunity to speak a little bit. But certainly, I'm open to talk with anyone about what you're challenged with and what you're dealing with. And we're seeing an enormous interest in this field in general. As Florencia just mentioned, the 3.5 times uptick, we're seeing about since we started, somewhere around a doubling of interest in our programs. So there is clearly an indication there that the people are interested in working in this field as we face, of course, existential threats of climate change, but then the challenge of social justice and human health well-being, which is, this is the sweet spot of the MDP programs that the various 38 colleges and universities are doing. So,
Thank you
I
so
may have
much.
said too much, so I'll
No,
stop there.
thank you, appreciate it. So we've heard from University of Florida and what they're doing in terms of the university in general regarding the SDGs. We've heard about from Harvard, who has a course delivery, who has an MDP program, and it's online, so that's different. And what are you guys doing? I mean, I see John, Melissa, Megan, June Soon, Allison Moran, and others. Share.
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in. I have to hop off in a few minutes. But hi everyone, my name is Melissa Lee. I'm the founder of the Green Program. It's really great to be here with you all, and thanks for SDSN USA for hosting today. The Green Program, we started in 2009, actually as students, and our mission is to educate and empower future sustainability leaders, and how we're doing that is through our short-term experiential education programs that are all abroad and focused on sustainable development. So in short, my job is to bring your curriculum to life, but to use the world as our classroom and to bring students into the epicenters of sustainable practices in different local communities around the world. What we specialize in is bringing industry access to life. So whether that's Iceland's largest geothermal facilities, or going into Fukushima's disaster zones and studying disaster mitigation from nuclear to renewable transitions. We are, focused on the epicenters and basically work on all of the curriculum design and the logistics behind the scenes that faculty do not have the capacity or sometimes interest in needing to worry about. So that's something that we've been doing since 2009, and ever since, we've been following the MDGs, of course, but now with the SDGs, ISDGs even too, we've been adapting all of our courses to be focused on sustainable development goals. Our courses are all taught by local universities in each country. So for example, Kathmandu University in Nepal, Iceland School of Energy, their master's program at Reykjavik University in Iceland. So that way students are working with local professors who have lived and experienced and studied all the local sustainable development practices in the host country as well. It's worth noting that just post-program, our programs are short-term. They're typically 8 to 10 days long, but generally we strive for long-term impacts. So we actually I'm going to share a link here, but we just had a study done by Uppsala University in Sweden to measure the impacts of how much you can really learn in just 10 days, right? And in an experiential education format. And we found, thankfully, that 95% of students who have participated in our programs actually experience a sustainability related shift in an increase in awareness and consciousness of personal impacts, exchange, and expertise in sustainability issues. They've also found different impacts, such as participants who have gone through the program and have actually are now employed. More than 50% of them are now employed in a sustainability related job. And those who actually have switched degrees coming back in, say as a first-time student or first year or second year student, changing their majors, 75% of them have actually switched into a sustainability related track. So our bigger picture at the Green Program is more about how do we shape and mold the bigger picture of what higher education really is doing for the future workforce, and how do we expose people to the problems firsthand that our world has to face today in order to solve them. A part of our curriculum is also working on some innovative models of capstone development as well during the programs. So we work with Simon Sinek's Golden Circle model. We do the social business canvas model frameworks on all of our programs as well, just to be able to give an interdisciplinary approach to all of our programs now too. And then long-term, just like post-program, what we've been doing and putting a big focus on is the alumni network at the Green program. So now we have just about 3,500 alumni in our network from over 470 universities in 70 countries around the world. And they are making an impact, you name it, in places like NASA, SpaceX, Tesla, anywhere that you can make a difference. Our students are there. I always tell everybody, if anyone's going to change the world, it is Green Program alumni. So, you know, they are the ones making that difference out there. But what's more powerful in that network is that they're now coming back and hiring each other. You know, they're offering jobs at these organizations saying, hey, my company is hiring, please reach out to me, getting those connections to actually now channel your impact in a local setting and maybe even in your career for a long-term action as well. So that's what we've been doing for the past 11 years now. And we would love to connect with any of you here as well to see how we can help support your curriculum and sustainability efforts in terms of education for sustainable development.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I, you know, as I hear all of you, I think it comes to me so clear, this, you know, connection is almost the work that, you know, connecting theory with practice, balancing life and work, connecting the global and the local, right? Having this holistic picture. So I think the challenges and opportunities are pretty much common, but I would love to hear from some of you as well that haven't yet shared.
I'll just add quickly before stealing the mic for too much longer talking about the Green program, by just letting you know that I also work with the Green program. I'm Megan. I'm the Director of University Partnerships. I have one quick additional comment to what Melissa said, but she really, I think, covered the basis of what we do and what we're about. It's just looking at your guiding questions. You know, in addition to offering these programs, which are outlined and mapped along to specific SDGs per program and offering them to students and young professionals. In my job, I work with universities to figure out how to embed our programs into existing courses, to take faculty abroad, to work with your study abroad office. And we work with all different types of departments. And that's something that jumped out at me with your second guiding question, is I think that actually being an outside entity, providing an educational resource to their campus that they can't otherwise provide, and educating their students on these topics with a global mindset brings together people, including faculty, staff, and students from all these different areas of the campus and different departments really nicely. So I found as an outsider to the institution that sometimes a global education program or something similar could transcend those silos academically and bring those students together. So when they're working on their business plan solution to a sustainable development challenge, you know, it's not all one major in one room figuring it out. It's people from all over the campus bringing their different perspectives. And I think that adds a lot of value to the program. And the other thing I'll mention before, you know, giving it to the other people present to introduce themselves is just to say that we're hosting a global sustainability expo next Wednesday, the 24th. Melissa just gave you guys the link to it in the chat so you can read more about it, but it's a really unique opportunity to learn more about the Green program. We're gonna have our alumni there. We'll have staff and faculty from our programs around the world there talking about what they do with us. Our entire team is gonna be there in different breakout rooms. I'll be there in at least a breakout room per program highlight, talking about how we work with universities, can answer any of your questions. So if you're interested to learn more, check out the expo or feel free to reach out to me and Melissa anytime.
Definitely will. Hi, everyone. I'm John Anderson. I'm going to speak real quick if I can. I've got another meeting I will be going to. I'll be here all day tomorrow as well. But I really appreciate hearing this. Natalie, in particular, kind of where you guys are at in your development. Here at the University of Idaho, I'm a professor in what's called virtual technology design, but you know, we move towards the convergent research, and that's our call that we need to all be looking at now is convergent research. And we're in economic kind of times as crises, if you will, at our university where we're reforming. And when you reform, and in this case, change is always a good thing. And we've realized we need a driving force. So in real time, the meeting I have to go to is actually to describe this. We are looking at also creating a new college of sustainability that is completely interdisciplinary between business, law, art and architecture, everyone. And to me, it's the dream come true. I've been working my entire career towards. And so we'll be in these, maybe I also function as special assistant to the VPR. We're moving this way. And what I proposed today prior to this, and I let people know about the member meeting, is that the SDSN is the driving force in the framework that we use to create this. And so far, everyone's in full agreement, right? It's easy to tell the truth when it's just the truth right in front of you, right? And so we're moving actively this way and want to make partnerships as best as we can. It's going to take us a little time. I'm a fatal optimist, so I always expect us to do this like in quickly. But Natalie, I understand that. And Tom, it's wonderful to hear the successes there too. And I really appreciate the extension and that we have extension across the state. And I think that's a big key to tie into, in particular with this tie with industry. I think all the conversations, I actually want to be part of the other breakout sessions too, because I think we're really on some great topics here coming together with that. So there's not much I can report on it besides that we've also over this last year put a lot of effort towards Indigenous science and working with Indigenous people. And to the point that we may get some time to talk about that tomorrow a little bit. As I led off in the last member meeting last year is, essentially this is a Western solution to a Western problem. Largely, the SDSN. And it's been a sensitive topic to bring into Indigenous communities in many ways because they have their own methods and honestly a way of not trusting the Western solution. And so I've been working very hard this next year to really see how the SDSNs can be there to help facilitate similarly. So we're going to be coming across it from more of a higher education component, but at our heart will be led with an Indigenous component in particular. And so I think I'll be able to, hopefully this time next year, start to report a little bit more, but I'll be reaching out to everyone as well for guidance on this as we move forward. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yong Hunter. I'm a professor at Wisconsin School of Business. I moved back to Wisconsin just about 3 years ago. Prior to that, I was teaching at National University of Singapore. In Singapore, the green development is a big deal. But after I moved back to the business school at Wisconsin School of Business, I noticed the topic is not as strongly emphasized as when I was in Asia. So starting from 3 years ago, I tried to bring the topic of sustainable development in my classroom. I'm in the Department of Real Estate and Urban Economics, Urban Land Economics. So I'm teaching urban city-related sustainable development. It's broadly defined, including the climate change and green buildings, energy efficiency, transportation, as well as affordable housing also. I include those into the topics. And what I did is I'm teaching a course called Real Estate and Regional Economics. I add the elements of sustainable development, which covers half of my semester. I asked students to do a group project, which 5 students form into 5 students. Each group will pick a topic, either do affordable housing, climate change impact to the urban development, or the green roof, or the sustainable energies, or those topics. Students are very excited. And also the alumni of our school has set up the award. Every year we give award to 3 best student group green sustainable development project teams. So it's a monetary award. And also those winning project will send their report to all our alumni groups. So that part we have run roughly about 3 years. So they are running quite well. Students getting more and more interested. However, at the university level, I thought the attention is still not up to there as I compare to National University of Singapore. When I taught there, there was much more interest. So what I hope from this group is, because previously the professor from Harvard mentioned, say, we not only want to introduce the international experience, but students are more interested in the local experience. So if we can find some network, I can get some great speakers to share the local experience, especially the Midwest experience about the sustainable development in my classroom. That would be great.
Thank you so much, Professor Deng. Very interesting, and definitely that's it's a great idea. And I hope that this meeting, this time that we're together, is not the last time. I hope that this continues. So, I'm working now or house within SDSN, so I'll make sure that that happens. But okay, enough of me. Somebody else would like to add? Yes.
Hi. So my name is June Son, and I'm an assistant professor and at Seattle Pacific University. It's a small liberal arts, and we're in I'm in a business school right now. So I think the biggest challenge that we face right now is, as a small liberal arts college, we are constantly looking for some resources and designing a course that is applicable for our size is not easy because University of Wisconsin or Harvard, you have your big universities, University of Florida, you have various departments. Though I can see there's a lot of political issues across disciplines, but then you do have the resources and I think I was hoping, again, because we're in the process of developing a minor program at the moment, if the network could kind of provide some sort of a course design inputs, or not like a consulting, but still like some sort of a place where you can ask for an advice. I think the green program was interesting because, for instance, if we want to do study abroad, again, with our resources, it's going to be a challenge. But if we can kind of find ways to collaborate with other universities or other people in the network, I think I think this is something that all small universities are currently facing. They see the value, the importance of sustainable development goals, but it's there's a inequality of education here as well. So it's that they don't have chances to push this forward. So if there's some sort of a supporting program for other member universities, that would be great. So it's more of a suggestion than what we're doing. We're in the process of building. So yeah.
Okay, and June, I'm sorry. What do you hope to focus on in terms of your degree program that you're in the process of developing?
Yeah, so that's like the very beginning of our question right now, is because we're in a business school right now. So it's a business school minor program. So where should we kind of have the focus on? Is it do we cover all 17 goals, or do we focus on a couple of goals? But is that really a sustainable development goal, because we're only focusing on a few? I also kind of wonder about other universities' experience in getting people on board. So we're a school of government, business, government, and economics, and even within ourselves, there is not a consensus among what sustainability means. It's taking time. It's constant discussion about sustainability is all about environment. Some people think it's just environmental issues, although we kind of push that it's beyond that, right? People who know about SDGs, we know it's beyond that, but it's really hard to get even faculties inside to get on board to design a program. So I think at some point, I, as an assistant professor, this is only my second year. I'm a junior, so I'm like navigating what to do. So but there's kind of, it's oftentimes it's hard to ask questions inside the institution than outside. So if there's like a, I don't know, maybe like a mentoring program for something like, like want your advice on developing these courses, or is SDG Academy, can you kind of, do, I wonder whether like small universities collaborate with SDG Academy and give credits, for instance, for the minor
absolutely.
program.
Yeah, June, maybe thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's so valuable, all that have been shared in terms of the great and wonderful things that you're doing, but also these challenges, right? Because I think it's so important when we are able to identify the gaps and see how we can support each other. So one thing I wanted to say first is, like, I actually in the past, I worked with Seattle Pacific University, and actually Jerry Mason, Dr. Jerry Mason, I don't know if you know her. In the context of the principle for responsible management education. And I think she's pretty much on board on that. So maybe we can take it bilaterally later on. But when it comes to the SDG Academy, and I quickly went to the content and also the community of practice, we're trying to conduct exactly that type of questions, right? And we've been working on a one-on-one over the years with universities that they wanted to incorporate, particularly our content in different disciplines, right? Which poses challenges. And I will say that normally, like, the best way, I mean, we had to see it, it's difficult to say which is there's no one recipe, but when we're able to integrate across the board, it's much better than having obviously optionals here and there, right? But we had the university partnership program in the past, and we were doing that work individually. The reason why we put together the community of practice is because we wanted to have this type of circular conversations like the one that we're having right now. And there's so much expertise among the group that can support each other, but we still have a partner category in which we work together with the universities. And I would love to take this bilaterally with you and anyone else that will be interested in this conversation. But thanks so much for sharing. I think that's great.
Thank you.
Someone else? Allison, I see a smile on your face.
Hi, I am actually a high school science teacher. But I go to the University College of Dublin for sustainable development. So I teach science, and I just, I live in New York State. So I've seen a lot of poor sustainability programs. So I thought I was interested in it. I talked to the professors. They do the pillars. So we talk about the governance, the economic, the environment, and the socio side of it. And then we also work with the SDGs. Trisha's also with me in class. So we do a little bit of everything. We have science, we have law, we have economics, we have governance, and it's kind of all mixed in multiple different classes, and we do projects, and we do SDG, the SD, Trish, help me out here, the courses for sustainable development. Thank you. Yeah, I'm having a moment. So yeah, it really is from a student perspective. I work full time. I have a family. Trish does too. So, it's pretty rough, but it's worth it. The experiences that I have had just since September, we did the global classroom course that they talked about earlier. Awesome. We did the Columbia part of it with Professor Sachs, which was also awesome. So yeah, I definitely feel like UCD has a great take on it. I think they don't focus on the specific goals per se. They do an overall view and then kind of take it from there, maybe, I guess. Would you say that, Trish? But I really wanted to kind of bring it back to the high school. That was my biggest thing, because these kids don't understand sustainability. They don't really get, they're very focused and very narrow-minded, and they're little rural areas. So I was hoping to make them kind of a little worldly, maybe.
And Allison, just a question, in terms of trying to achieve that goal of localizing, I guess, the SDGs in your context, is there pushback, not just from the students, but parents, teachers, administrators?
Yes, 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 and yes. I live in a very, well, I teach in a very Republican, maybe, entity. So yeah, it's not great, but I am also of the age that I can retire. So I'm also in school getting another degree. So, bye, if you don't like me, get rid of me. So I do kind of push back, I guess, but that's what you need. And I also have a lot of experience with climate justice because for years I did climate summits with kids from area schools. So we would do a huge thing at SUNY Buffalo College, Buff State College, and have a climate summit and teach them about climate justice and climate. And I did take some of my kids from my school to there, but they were far and few between because of the type of climate it is there. Mostly it was, area city kids and just outlying areas, which had a more open view, and where I teach in a more rural area. So it's kind of a closed view. So it's rough, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, actually. I know that we've passed the time, but I'm going to, actually, Allison, I'm going to come back to you because I am also interested in the high school, even though I only really deal with the higher ed or tertiary education, but I'm interested in that because I try to do the same thing in terms of Florida, and the pushback was incredible. So I will be in contact with you. And I know that SDGA Academy and SDSN are doing other things with high schools that I'll offer to you bilaterally. And I know it's 5:17, and we did say this was until 5:15. I hope to see you all back tomorrow, though. We will continue these conversations. We'll have networking sessions. And I will be, it's just, really thank you all for sharing. Thank you for sharing, for really, your willingness and openness to sort of hearing what we have to say as well. And what I hear overall is we want to work together. We want a network to support each other. And this is what we do, and let's see what we can do together. Florencia?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Lucia. I hear the same, and I feel the same, and that's so important. Like, we need to, to move forward on these complex issues. We really need to do it together. So I would just say one concrete thing. Let's make sure that we share now the slides and the contacts to each other, and we can put together a summary so we stay in touch and we look forward to supporting each other in the best way that we can. And a pleasure to meeting you all. And thanks so much for sharing.